out in the desert.
Neighbors claimed they practice witchcraft.
Welcome back, boils and ghouls, to the Haunted Heart podcast. I'm your host, Katie, and I'm here with Kenny.
Or am I here? I didn't know that I was going to be here today. I didn't know that this was a thing today. I didn't know to show up, but I did.
It's okay. Luckily, I came and got you. And now you're here at least in corporeal form.
Yes, there's
absolutely. Because we haven't figured out how to astral project record for you guys. Yeah, but if we could, know that we would.
For real. Just show up.
We definitely would. That would be amazing. I would astral project all over the fucking place. My astral projection self would be taking out the trash. That bitch would be like organizing the cabinets. She would be like making my coffee and having it ready for me in the morning. I would be one rested bitch.
Would you be rested, or would it actually make you
just be tired all the time?
That much more tired?
Maybe,
right?
But
because
there's a trade-off in life.
Well, the amount of energy that you would have to put into astral projecting
right.
would just be so exhausting, I feel like.
Unless you stole it from a child. Put a pin in that. We'll come back around to it. Anyway, how you been, folks?
I hope they've been all right.
I hope. Hanging in there, It's crazy times, but everybody's just hanging in there, doing our best.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully not arguing too much with your aunt on Facebook. But do you
Yeah. I feel like there has been a lot of arguing.
It's so much. It's very toxic. Consider maybe just take a break for you. I'm doing that shit. I do it frequently,
except from our Facebook group, though. I mean,
not our
stay
Facebook
there,
because we don't necessarily have too much that. It hasn't come for us.
Stay there
yet.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place in the midst of a lot of darkness.
True. It's just some good horror memes. Love it.
Pretty much. Good horror memes. Let's see. What else has there been? I don't even know. It's just it's
just a whole vibe.
It's a whole vibe.
We're so good at selling that.
It's a mood.
Good thing it's free.
I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me this evening. I just feel like, I don't know. I've been filled my belly with Chipotle, and now I'm like,
it's the Chipotle hibernation.
And now I'm like, bed.
Yep.
But no, Katie comes and drags me out of bed to record this goddamn show for you folks, and that's what we're here to
for
deliver
you assholes.
Today. For you motherfuckers. No. For every last one of you motherfuckers. This is for you.
Yeah. Should I light a candle to that?
I think we do have some candles to light, though.
We do indeed.
Damn it.
Do you want to start, or shall I?
I fucking goddamn guess I will.
Shall you lead?
Shall I lead? I will take the lead.
Okay.
Yes, let me grab my lighting apparatus. Is that what we call it?
Strike pad?
My strike pad.
Strike
pad.
For strike.
Oh, I will say before we did, I don't know why this made me think of this, but I did play a lot of Mortal Kombat this weekend with the nephew. And funny story, we're playing it. It's like Mortal Kombat 11, and he's like, "Do you know how to play?" And I'm like,
"Oh, do not speak to me of the old ways, for I was there."
I was like,
when the book of Mortal Kombat was written.
I said, "Listen, little one, I had Mortal Kombat, like the first one when it came out. We're on 11. I was on like Mortal Kombat 1, okay, with the PlayStation, the original
Eldritch level.
You know what I mean? Like
X, triangle, circle, circle. Actually, was the original Mortal Kombat on PlayStation? I thought it was on some other bullshit.
Yes. Sega Genesis.
Yeah, it was on
Sega Genesis and then PlayStation.
Yes.
I had it on Sega Genesis. So
it was not X triangle circle.
No. So I then proceeded to beat his ass in Mortal Kombat for that.
It's the way. That's the way. spare the finishing move in Mortal Kombat, spoil the child. That's what they say.
Something about Strike Pad made me think of Sub-Zero, and because that's who I always play with when I play Mortal Kombat. He's my
I can
main
see
one.
that shit.
And so something about that just made me think of that. So anyway, here we are. And we are invoking Beth M., who is a member of our Haunted Heart Harem.
And next up, we have a very special invocation for our friends, Mandy and Hugh, over at the Depth of Darkness podcast. They have joined us as part of our Haunted Heart Harem, and we just want to encourage our listeners to go out, show them some love. If you like this show, you will probably like their show. It's very similar topics, similar material. They also kind of have a dark humor spin. So check them out. They're like more bite-sized episodes, 20, 30 minutes. Show them a little bit of love.
Hell yeah.
All right. Mandy, Hugh, and Beth, members of our harem. Your candles are lit, and they will burn beside our mic stands through the end of the episode, but always and forever in our dark, dark hearts.
Dark hearts. And that last one was a little snap, crackle, poppy.
It's throwing off some light.
Like, ooh.
That's because Mama didn't trim the wick right before she lit it, but that's okay.
Ooh, Mama didn't trim her
It's
wig.
we'll just say Mandy and Hugh are extra bright tonight.
We needed it because it was
dark.
AF up in this motherfucking
We were see.
podcast
Here's the thing: when we
room.
have these invocations that we do, I mean, we light like a bajillion candles, but we like when we have these invocations that we do. I'm not saying that anybody's ever set anything on fire trying to record this podcast. I'm not saying that. I'm certainly not saying it was me. What I am saying is that we did have to reduce our number of candles, open flames, around us. So now when we do the Patreon invocations, if we have a couple, we kind of start the show in mostly darkness. And it really helps once we get those invocations done.
I mean, definitely.
Because then we can fucking see each other and everything around us.
Honestly, and like I had disconnected the soundboard for whatever reason, and so I'm over here like in the dark trying to get this shit connected, and I'm like, listen, I don't consider myself to be a sound mixer and or expert. So when I pulled a plug up and I was like, what does this go to? I needed some light
plug it
to
wherever
figure
it
that
fits,
out. I just,
you know?
here's a hole and this is where it goes.
That's usually what I do. Just put it wherever it fits. So,
Pretty much.
all right. So this week we have, I'm diving in. I'm ready.
She's
I'm
diving
very
in
awake.
because, like I said, I told y'all at the top of the episode, I didn't know I was supposed to be here today. I am in pajamas, have not showered.
I didn't get the email for the acting call today. I didn't get the call email.
I didn't.
I
Listen,
didn't get the call time.
Whoever is our assistant and like did not leave me a memo, did not update the Google Calendar.
Our fucking ghost assistant. It's funny because we don't have one, so they would be a ghost, but then also they would ghost us because
that would just be
Don't ever get no help.
that would be the aesthetic of the show. Mm-hmm. Our ghost assistant. And has it started to thunder? Huh. Interesting.
I didn't hear anything.
I thought I heard thunder.
I'm worried about you.
Wow.
I definitely didn't hear anything, but I
Don't pull a me now. You're gonna try to make me feel like I'm crazy.
except for I won't edit the fucking sound out when it shows up on the episode. Now will I, sir? Will I? It's a true story. Kenny be editing shit out that I hear all the time, and then I sound crazy talking to y'all about things I'm hearing. Conspiracy. That's going to be my next conspiracy episode. It's going to be that. I'm going to be like, this instant. If you'll refer to episode 34 of the Haunted Heart podcast.
No, you wouldn't.
Then I'll
I
pull
would
the
have to
fucking
be the
clip.
one to fucking edit that
It's
shit
fine.
and
Sometimes
clip it in.
sometimes I can edit.
Okay. Well,
Look,
the fact that
I'm
we
just
are
here to
12
be the
minutes into
talent.
this episode and haven't gotten any clue what the fuck we're talking about says otherwise.
It's okay. We're having a fun time. This is a fun time because you guys know, last
happens
week was
after the
Kenny's
fun time?
week. This week is a Katie week. I like to kind of,
Bring us down.
I like to keep us in the good place
Really?
before I take us to the sad place.
Are you sure? Okay. Oh, all right. There we
so
go.
I'm just kind of like extending that a little bit.
There it is.
But we're going to dive in now.
Shit.
So
I'm worried. I'm concerned, y'all.
just take that good feeling and wrap it up in yourself and just bury it deep.
Okay.
So some of you guys who follow us on Facebook, if you don't follow us on Facebook, you absolutely should. Search for the Haunted Heart Podcast. You'll see our page there and also the closed Facebook group that we were talking about at the start of the episode, where it's good vibes only.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we make sure of it.
Definitely.
No, everybody in the Facebook group is pretty chill. But if you are not following us on Facebook, definitely make sure that you are. If you do follow us on Facebook, you may have seen that this week we made a donation to the Innocence Project on behalf of the show. So it came from both of us. Not trying to like toot our own horn or anything. I just wanted to share that information because I know not everybody follows us on Facebook, and encourage you guys, if you are in a place financially where you have a little extra that you could give, that's a great organization. They've been properly vetted. It's a 501c3. It's a good place to, if you're looking for places to help out. There's a ton of great organizations to donate to, and that is certainly one of them. One of the things that the Innocence Project focuses on, in fact, the thing that it's most well known for, is exonerating wrongfully convicted folks who are serving time for, obviously, crimes that they did not do, hence the wrongfully convicted. They also do a lot with community building, legal education. They do a whole lot more than just overturning wrongful convictions, but they offer a lot of support to, folks as far as like legal resources and things like that. And because of that, I think it's a really good organization to support, because the changes that are needed in our world today are not just going to happen in the courtroom or just going to happen, it's not just going to affect police. It's not just going to affect certain sectors. It's going to affect everything, right? It's about community building. It's about changing the way that we think about community. It's about redefining that and strengthening that and, really building a better world. Because I think it's pretty clear that our communities today lack a lot of the resources that are needed in order to really thrive, that people need to thrive. So that's sort of the reform that is hopefully, taking place over the next weeks, months, years. And the Innocence Project is certainly part of that. There's lots, like I said, there's lots of organizations. It doesn't just have to be that one. But in honor of sort of showing our support for the Innocence Project, I thought that it would be cool to dive into one of their cases today on the show. So I want to talk about the case of Malcolm Alexander.
Okay.
So I guess without further ado.
I guess so. I'm strapped in. I'm ready. And, I'm lubed up. Way to make it awkward.
Jesus.
Just a way to make it awkward. I love it.
Poor man.
Great.
He's like, why did it have to be you to cover this case? Okay. Get yourself together. Act like a professional.
What the fuck is?
Like
what
a
is a professional?
I don't know.
Define professional.
Google.
It's not this.
Alexa. All right. Get it together.
All right. I'm together.
At about 11:30 a.m. on November 8th, 1979, a black man walked into a newly opened antique store in Gretna, Louisiana. The owner, whose name is not disclosed, so we'll just call her B.N., a 39-year-old white woman, became suspicious. She attempted to direct him to furniture outside, but as she walked to the front door, he grabbed her from behind and clubbed her in the head with a handgun. He then forced her into a bathroom at the rear of the shop and raped her at gunpoint. After he raped her, he led her to the telephone, which had been ringing throughout the attack. As he held her in a chokehold and threatened to shoot her, B.N. completed the call without alerting the caller that anything was wrong. The attacker then forced her back into the bathroom and raped her again. The attacker ordered her not to move and fled. BN used a towel to clean herself and called police. When they arrived at the scene, police found 3 pubic hairs on the floor of the bathroom and also took the towel into evidence. BN said the attacker was black with a medium complexion, in his early 20s, about 6 feet tall, and 165 to 170 pounds. She said he was wearing blue jeans, a dark windbreaker, and a navy blue watch cap. BN said that he rode up to the store on a dark orange 10-speed English racing bike. Police, of course, broadcast the description over the radio, and 10 minutes later, a cop car stopped a black man with his jeans unzipped, riding an orange 10-speed bicycle. The man was brought to the outside of the antique store, and BN stood inside and viewed him from the front window. She said the man was not her attacker. BN was then taken to a hospital where a rape kit was taken. On November 30th, 1979, BN saw the man she thought might have been her attacker. When police investigated him, they learned that he worked at Superior Pontiac, a car dealership. The man's fellow employees said he was a hard worker and was not the type of person to commit a sexual assault. On December 18th, 1979, police showed BN a photographic lineup, which included the man from Superior Pontiac, but she did not identify anyone as her attacker. In February 1980, several months later, police arrested 20-year-old Malcolm Alexander after a woman accused him of sexually assaulting her. Alexander, who is black, told police that the sex occurred after he gave the woman money and that it was consensual, not assault. Alexander was not charged in that incident, but a detective believed that he fit BN's description of her attacker, even though he was only 5 feet 9 inches tall. And remember, she had described her attacker as about 6 feet tall. So that's quite a difference. Mm-hmm. On March 24th, 1980, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Department Detective O'Neill Deneau Jr. asked BN to view another photographic lineup, one that included Alexander's photo specifically. Deneau's report said that BN identified Alexander, but her identification was, quote, tentative, end quote. 3 days later, on March 27th, BN viewed a live lineup that included Alexander. He was the only person who was in both lineups, a procedure considered to be improper and suggestive because a person could subconsciously convert the memory of seeing a person in the first lineup into a memory of that person being the perpetrator. Detective Deneau was not present because he was in court, so Detective Marco Nuzzolillo conducted the lineup. Nuzzolillo checked off the box possible in his report, and next to it, he wrote tentative. 3 hours after the live lineup, Deneau returned from court and interviewed BN privately. When he emerged, he reported that BN now said she was more than 98% sure that Alexander was her attacker. Malcolm Alexander was arrested and charged with aggravated rape. He went on trial on November 5th, 1980, nearly a year after the original crime took place. The entire trial, from selection of the jury until the jury's announcement that they found Alexander guilty, lasted 1 day. The entire trial transcript was only 87 pages long. And that's something that if you're not like sometimes doing research for the show, I'll pull up trial transcripts and go through them. And it's like hundreds of pages.
Really?
I do. Yeah. Sometimes.
You do that?
If the trial is particularly important. Yeah. I mean,
I've never done that.
If you've never looked at a trial transcript, like they're fucking long, dude, because there's a lot that goes into, especially something like this.
So,
this is like a life-defining trial.
Right.
And the fact that it's only 87 pages long, we didn't even break 100 pages. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So this is like if it was me and I was like the person with like like I've got my nails, they're painted, I'm done, and I've got probably like, you know, we're in the 70s, right?
Those big glasses.
Those
yeah,
big
it's
glasses,
1980.
and it's like a typewriter type situation,
Yes.
and I'm sitting there like
100% that was the situation. Like imagine Barb from Stranger Things.
That's
but
kind
like
of where I was
20
going.
years older and
Yeah.
like clickety clack. Yeah.
Clickety clackety on that. So that's this person who is transcribing this, right? That's what they do. Is that
That's where that's who makes the transcript. Yes.
Right.
That I'm talking about. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So this is what you're talking about.
I mean, I'm not blaming that lady. I'm just saying it was a very quick trial. Not a lot of words were exchanged, clearly.
I was just trying to figure out when you're talking about a transcription, this is what we're talking about.
Yes.
The person who sits and types all of this stuff out, which has to be like, damn, I don't know that I would be able to do that. I don't think I could have that job in a court. Like,
I don't know that I could not respond. I'd be like, ooh.
you just be over there like, okay. Oh, right. Me, I would just like, it would just be so detrimental because I would just lose my place of where I'm at. And then I'm just like, all right, well,
Too
we don't
scared
need
to
that
tell
line.
anybody, and you're just like, it's fine.
We don't need that line.
I'm gonna just cut that. It'll be fine.
We don't need that line. Next. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel
Next.
like you have to be like a super Virgo to do that job.
Pretty
like, You have to
much.
just be like, this is it.
Wow. So we have this BN.
Yeah.
So we have this
BN.
lady who has identified this man, Alexander, as 90, what'd she say, over 90%?
Yes. So, but after a process, obviously. So what we have is he was actually in a lineup that she looked at previously. So one of the former, I don't know that it was the first, but one of the former lineups that she had viewed, Malcolm Alexander's photo was there.
Right.
And she said nothing.
And is this the same?
And then months later, after this other woman who's not related to the case at all, this other woman said that Malcolm Alexander sexually assaulted her. And he said, no, I didn't. It was consensual. But she alleged.
That was a separate incident.
Yes, that was a separate incident.
Okay.
This other woman, who we'll call, I don't know, Pam.
Barb.
She alleged that Malcolm Alexander sexually assaulted her. He said, I did not. It was consensual sex. And there was money that was also exchanged. After that happened and the police sort of became aware of him in that sense, then his photograph was included in a lineup. And after that point, BN said, supposedly she recognized him as her attacker, and the note was that it was tentative. So then later, she looked at a live lineup, and they had Malcolm Alexander in that live lineup as well, and he was the only face that was repeating. So he's the only guy who was in both the photo lineup that she looked at and the live lineup that she looked at. And that's like not a thing that like, it's not really like a thing.
Right.
It's weird that he was the only guy. And it's sort of like the way that it doesn't necessarily like the vibe that I'm getting here is, of course, all of this is alleged. I ain't trying to get sued. But this Detective O'Neill Deneau Jr. seems to be very involved in these decisions to put Malcolm Alexander's photo in the lineup because of this other sexual assault, which, I mean, objectively speaking, maybe if you do, like, if you have an alleged sexual assault, then maybe you would put somebody, but it just seems like he, like, was really sort of trying to bring about a certain conclusion, right? Right. I understand why you would include the photo in the photo lineup with all the given, allegations. But to then also, take this person and have them be the only person who's repeating in a live lineup, to me now sounds like you have narrowed down your suspects. And now you're trying to
and also,
orchestrate.
Yeah, and it seems like to me like you're trying to piece two things together so that you're kind of like essentially kill two birds with one stone.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, okay, we have this and we have this over here. Obviously if I can make this connection, then, like both of these instances are taken care of, right?
Right. And then, apparently on the day that on the day that the live lineup actually took place, he was not the detective who was there who was like sort of running the show. But it sounds like he did all the work leading up to it,
Right,
and like
yeah.
actually selected who was going to be in the
Yeah.
live lineup and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he was just conveniently in court that day, so somebody else handled that actual process. But then when he got back, he interviewed BN personally, and then that's when it changed from tentative to 98% certain that that's the guy.
Got it.
Even
Got
though his
it.
height doesn't match at all to her original description of her attacker. So we go to trial. The entire transcript is only 87 pages long, which is really short. And Malcolm Alexander's lawyer, Joseph Tosh, did basically nothing to defend him.
Damn.
This guy was so negligent. It was like he didn't even care. He certainly didn't care about winning the case, and he definitely didn't care about justice. And that was something that would carry through for him because this guy, Joseph Tosh, in 1999, he was actually disbarred from practice as a lawyer.
I mean, if he was so negligent,
Yes.
I would hope so, because that's crazy, especially because when you think that your job, like some of us, like working retail and working HR and whatever, like it's not that big of a deal, right? But when you get to things like this, where this person's livelihood, their life just kind of balances, and you knowing how to and accurately and professionally doing your fucking job,
Right.
It don't, you don't need to be in this field, sir.
No.
You don't need to be doing that.
No.
Not at all. Do we know, was he a court-appointed lawyer? Do we know, or was it someone that he had?
No,
that
I
had
think it was
been-
somebody that the Alexander family had retained. I don't know that I don't think he was court appointed. I'm not 100% sure. Call it tentative.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, so apparently in 1999, he was not partying like it was 1999 because his ass got disbarred because basically they had found more than 50 incidents where he took fees and then did little or frequently nothing at all and refused to refund his lawyer fees.
Wow, sounds like
Whatsoever.
a fucking dick.
Yeah. So in fact, he was not a court-appointed lawyer because the Malcolm Alexander paid him fees. With a court-appointed lawyer, it's appointed by the court, and they do their thing for you.
Not that it matters,
But they paid that man.
Because regardless if you're a court-appointed lawyer or not, you should still be doing your fucking job. But
And there's plenty of lawyers who are working as court-appointed lawyers. I think that's kind of like where you start out before you build your own practice. And those folks work hard.
I guess so I guess that's kind of why I was asking, was I just wanted to see like what level was this,
Right.
was he
No,
this lawyer's supposed to be
private,
at?
dude.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if he was private, this family actively sought him out, paid him what is probably a huge sum of money because lawyers ain't fucking cheap. Damn. Okay.
Yeah. So, despite the existence of a rape kit and also the towel that we mentioned earlier.
Wait, what do you mean despite I thought we had one of those.
Yeah, we do. So I'm saying despite the fact that those things exist.
Oh, sorry.
And both of those things would have so the towel, the rape kit that they took at the hospital, as well as the towel that she cleaned herself up with before she called police, would have both had semen samples on them. Yes? Mm-hmm. So there was the rape kit, there was the towel, and there were 3 pubic hairs that were found on the floor where the crime took place. No forensic tests happened whatsoever.
What the fuck?
None.
How?
No, and now look, I understand you might be thinking it's 1980. They didn't have like fancy
Bullshit.
DNA testing and all this shit. But like, what I mean when I say that is like, neither the prosecutor nor the defense ordered any testing on any of those items whatsoever.
Bullshit. I call it out. Bullshit. Because I mean, you have pubic hair. Like they were able to. They could have matched. They could have ordered some tests. I mean, listen. Fucking. What was it? was thinking Maury wasn't far off from the 1980s, okay? Yeah. And if they had DNA tests in a few laters, on fucking TV, I'm pretty sure that we could have gotten a DNA test when this was taking place.
I mean, so DNA testing wasn't necessarily a thing, but forensic testing is more than just specifically DNA testing. There's lots of the pre DNA. It wasn't like we had absolutely no forensic testing, and then one day all of a sudden we were just like DNA exists and can be tested.
They didn't even run a fucking SOL test. They didn't give this man a goddamn Scantron. Okay, like shit, come the fuck on.
There were things that existed pre DNA that could have been done in this case, that could have been ordered in this case, and just nothing.
Yeah.
So, even though back to this Danou guy, I really have an issue with him. So his report on March 24th, 1980, of that photographic lineup that BN viewed, his report said that she had said her identification of Alexander was tentative. However, in court, Danou told the jury that BN, quote, without hesitation identified the photograph of Malcolm Alexander as the man who perpetrated the rape on her, end quote. Now, don't sound like tentative to me. Does it sound like tentative? You remember when we were in school in English class and you had to clap to define syllables to see how many syllables words had? Tentative.
It's 3.
It's only 3. Uh-huh. It doesn't sound much like without hesitation identified the photograph of Malcolm Alexander as the man who perpetrated the rape on her. Does it?
No. So, and then, this is why you couldn't be a court transcriber. Because this is literally what would happen right here. Yeah. You're witnessing it right now, folks. This is what happens when Katie becomes involved in transcribing court cases. Yeah. Completely agree. Does not sound tentative.
Right.
At all.
And then conveniently, remember how I told you the day that the live lineup took place? This Danou Jr. guy was at court. And there was another detective that sort of orchestrated, that sort of administered that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he also testified as the guy who had conducted the March 27th, 1980 live lineup. And he had filled out the report as possible and tentative prior to Danou going in after he got back from court and interviewing her, which is when it turned to 98% positive. That guy just said in court that BN identified Alexander, period. And I don't know if that was, for me, I'm not a lawyer. I am not Esquire.
I mean, you could probably do a better job than this motherfucker we got.
I'm not Esquire. Right, I could be S.Choir. I could play S.Choir for just one moment. And what I would say to you as S.Choir is if I had somebody on the stand who was asked, did she identify this man? And he said, yes, she identified him. I would definitely be asking some follow-up questions, such as, your report says that it's possible or tentative, or that might be leading the witness. I don't know these things. I'm just Esquire. But I would definitely ask some follow-up questions as to how sure she was when she identified him. I wouldn't just leave it at she identified him. But apparently, it's exactly what the fuck we did.
Is just identified him.
Yep.
Yeah.
The prosecution failed to even touch the possible tentative thing, which I get because that's not their fucking job. They didn't correct any of the detectives' testimony or elicit any testimony regarding the police reports that listed the identifications as tentative. They didn't touch it because they're the prosecution. They're trying to argue that this guy is guilty. Apparently the defense couldn't be fucking bothered. Alexander's attorney never asked any questions on cross-examination about those descriptions whatsoever, even though there were documented police reports that used the words possible identification, tentative. They were in quotes in the police reports. He never asked any cross-examination questions.
What? I just don't fucking understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Years later, looking in retrospect, attorneys who were working on Alexander's case were unable to determine whether the prosecution actually withheld those reports that documented the identifications as tentative, or if Alexander's attorney actually had those reports, but he was so incompetent that he failed to realize their significance. Wow. So we never actually could determine, did he literally just not have them, or did he just not... He just couldn't be fucking bothered.
He just was like fucking off. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, probably. I'm gonna say it was the latter, considering the fact that he was, what's that? Disbarred.
Yeah.
Disbarred. For being negligent. What the fuck?
Yeah.
God, it's stuff like this is just so
I'm so
fucking
mad
irritating.
it's raining. I know you can hear it.
The rain has started.
My rage has brought the storm, and you know what? That's just fine with me. So
shit, I don't give a fuck.
Because we're in it now. Joseph Tosh, by the way, is that motherfucker's name. Let's go ahead and make sure that we're saying his name as much as fucking possible.
Joseph Tosh.
Yeah, the lawyer who didn't ask any cross-examination.
The lawyer, Joseph Tosh. Joseph T.
T-O-S-H.
T-O-S-H.
Absolutely.
Joseph with a P-H.
I hope we can't get sued.
What the fuck is he going to do? Is he going to sue us?
Let's hope his lawyer works harder than he did. Ooh. Moving on. So at this case, BN testifies and identifies Alexander as her attacker on the stand. Mm-hmm. Again, when she testifies in court, no mention was made that her prior identifications had been labeled as tentative. Joseph Tosh presented no defense witnesses and never investigated whether Alexander, who had a steady job with a contractor at the time of the rape, had a viable alibi. Tosh made no opening statement to the jury, and his closing argument took up just 4 pages of the trial transcript.
Wow.
This guy phoned it in.
I feel like at this point, I would have just removed Mr. Joseph Tosh, shit-ass lawyer.
Former
shit-ass lawyer.
Yeah.
I would have just, I probably would have just tried to say, fuck it, I can fucking represent my damn self. I have that right.
Yeah. Which is, we'll get into it in the discussion portion a little bit more. But that's kind of why the exoneration work that the Innocence Project is doing is really important. But that specific issue right there is why the community work that they're doing and the legal education work that they're doing is so much more important. Because he had a lawyer who did not give a fuck, very clearly.
Right.
Very clearly documented, say alleged all you want, but it's in the trial record. Mm-hmm. He was either so incompetent that he couldn't function or he just didn't give a shit. And at the end of the day, none of it matters to Malcolm Alexander, right? The reason why doesn't matter. It's the fact that because of that, justice wasn't carried out.
Exactly.
So, and the community building legal education stuff that the Innocence Project is doing is, teaching people, these are what your rights are. If a lawyer is not doing this, and this for you, you can fucking fire them. Get rid of them, and I think that a lot of times people, particularly, not to say that that's exactly the situation that's going on here, but certainly there's lots of cases where people don't necessarily know exactly what their legal rights are. They don't necessarily know the resources that are available to them, or sometimes there aren't resources available to them, and that's how we end up with shit like this.
You know what? He should have had Elle Woods, attorney
Absolutely.
at law.
100%. Elle Woods was the bomb. Elle Woods would be horrified by this.
For real.
So, after what I can only imagine was a lackluster closing statement, the jury was sent out to deliberate at 5:20 p.m. By 6:16 p.m., that is less than an hour. That is 56 minutes, to be exact. The jury had voted to convict Alexander, They returned to announce the verdict and had been dismissed. So all of that happened. By 6:16 p.m., the jury had decided, announced their decision, and were dismissed. The judge then sentenced Alexander to life in prison without parole.
God damn.
Tosh,
Joseph Tosh.
the former lawyer,
Joseph Tosh.
assured Alexander and his family that he would file an appeal, but he never did it.
Oh, God. God, what a winner.
When
Jesus.
family members ultimately discovered that no appeal had been filed, they sought the help of another lawyer. That lawyer was granted permission to file an appeal, although the filing deadline had lapsed. The appeal, however, was denied by the Louisiana Court of Appeal. In 1996, after reading a news article about the DNA testing, now keep in mind, this man was convicted. We're talking about 1996 now.
Yeah.
This trial took place, let me get the exact date here. November 5th, 1980, right? So 1996 is 16 years later that this man has been sitting in jail, in prison.
16 years.
And he reads a news article about DNA testing. Malcolm Alexander did. From prison. He saw this news article about this DNA testing, and he was like, hey, maybe this can help me out. So he reached out to the Innocence Project in New York for help. However, a search for the physical evidence was unsuccessful. Court officials informed the Innocence Project that the evidence I'm talking about is that rape kit,
The
that
rape
towel,
kit, the pubes.
those 3 pubic hairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the evidence had inadvertently been destroyed in 1984. During a mass destruction of several hundred boxes of evidence from closed cases.
Okay. Okay.
So
Another reason why I can't be a part of this shit, because me working at the Innocence Project, when calling these motherfuckers and them telling me this. Okay. I'm gonna tell you what. I didn't like that this. I felt like we were kind of co-opting the word, suspicious at the beginning of this, but I will say that this is suspicious, and it's fucked up. It just disappeared. It just fucking, this one particular box, just like, how does a box of evidence like disappear? How did it get destroyed, babe?
sentences like this are like why I don't sleep at night.
Amongst many other reasons, but
it was inadvertently destroyed in 1984 during a mass destruction of several hundred boxes of evidence from closed cases. Meaning that not only is the particular case that we're discussing right now, I'm upset because the evidence for that case was destroyed. But then we got it. What about this mass destruction of all this fucking evidence from these closed cases, from these other closed cases, from these other cases of these other people?
Right.
That are just like not going to have any fucking more evidence anymore? Did we just decide? Did it expire? Girl, it's not milk. You need to buy a damn storage unit and put that shit away.
That's what I'm saying. So this was like a thing that this wasn't like an accident, like the building was caught on fire and this box was destroyed or some bullshit. This was like a planned, like, we're destroying this evidence.
It's really weird and vague because like normally they'll say things like, "Oh, a building caught on fire."
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I thought. And all the evidence
just burned up. And I mean, to be fair, shit happens. Like tragedy like that happens. But like this whole thing seems a little fishy. Not the good kind of fishy. The bad kind.
Yeah, bad fish.
The kind that you bought thinking that you were going to grill like a nice salmon dinner for you and your family, and then your crippling depression just made it so that you couldn't peel yourself off of the couch to cook said salmon, so it sat in the refrigerator where you thawed it for a week. And every day you see it when you go in to get your creamer for your coffee in the mornings, and every day you get a little more disappointed in yourself. Till eventually you throw it away, and then you go to the grocery store and you get a new piece of salmon. And you put it in the freezer and you wait for better times.
Yes. Yes.
Fishy like that.
Exactly. Fishy like that. Fishy like Joseph Tosh, former lawyer. Former lawyer. No longer a lawyer. Was disbarred. Joseph Tosh.
So apparently the only thing else that we got on that was that a deputy clerk attributed the mass destruction of these several hundred boxes of evidence that could potentially solve all these cold cases.
And because of the fact that we never ran tests on these to begin with, we didn't have the paperwork to go back on in case the evidence was destroyed.
Yep.
Which doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like it would seem like you would run your tests and record this in the event that something happens, because as we know, cold cases don't always stay cold.
Yeah, in fact,
closed
it's great when
cases
they don't
stay closed sometimes,
right,
and
sometimes
evidence is needed to
just
bring
close
back
the case
years and years later. Yeah. So why are we destroying evidence?
Anyway, this deputy clerk, she or he attributed the destruction to, quote, human error, which should not have happened, end quote. Which is like the understatement of the fucking year. Human error
that should not have happened.
Several hundred boxes of evidence.
You say that about, an up-and-coming podcast that
I mean, that's this.
That you have.
It should not.
You know what I mean?
Happen.
It was this podcast was a human error. Okay?
It should not have happened. Can we put that on some merch? The Haunted Heart Podcast.
If we put it on merch, they wouldn't buy it anyway.
The Haunted Heart Podcast, a human error, which should not have happened.
That's our new tagline, season 3 coming at you. Yeah, no, you just don't say that about things. I mean, again, going back to what we're talking about here, we're talking about people's livelihood. We're talking about, really important shit. It's like doctors, it's like lawyers, and even this. I'm sorry. It may have been a human error, but sorry. There's a lot at stake here, and so there is not room for human error.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. So that basically led to a stall, because without evidence, you can't really do any DNA testing. His case, Malcolm Alexander's case, was a perfect case for DNA testing. It seemed like it was kind of like all the mention of the evidence was leading us in that direction. And then, when the Innocence Project was told that, the evidence was destroyed, obviously that was a major stall. However, Malcolm Alexander pressed on. He was not giving up. And in 2004, he heard that Louisiana had enacted a post-conviction DNA testing law. So he filed a motion for testing, hoping that it would spark further searches for evidence. And he also filed a federal petition for a writ of habeas corpus.
Fuck yeah, I don't know what any of that means, but I'm here for it.
I bet you he knew what the fuck it meant. I bet the fuck
he did know what the hell it meant. I don't know what the fuck it means.
I'm not going to tell you either, because I'm getting through this story, because this is the part that I like.
Okay.
So that was in 2004. In 2013, so almost a decade later, his efforts were rewarded when the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Department Crime Laboratory discovered the pubic hairs that were removed from the bathroom floor where B.N. was raped in 1979.
Wait, where did they discover them?
They just discovered them.
So they weren't destroyed.
Maddening. Yeah, apparently
they just weren't destroyed now?
Apparently they weren't.
Oh,
apparently
look.
They were just fucking somewhere.
Oh, look, I just found this bag of pubic hairs up under the shelf here that I thought I'd destroyed.
Yeah, couldn't find them in 1996, but here they are in 2013. So obviously, the Innocence Project and the prosecution agreed to the DNA testing on the hairs shortly. Actually, not that shortly, but these things, I guess, do take time. Apparently, they agreed to DNA testing on the hairs in 2015, and testing was actually performed in 2016. The test showed that all 3 of the hairs came from the same person, and Malcolm Alexander was excluded as the source of the hairs. So in 2017, Following this testing, the Innocence Project, joined by the Innocence Project New Orleans, which is a specific branch in New Orleans, they filed a motion. They filed a motion seeking to vacate Alexander's conviction, citing the DNA evidence as well as the failure of Alexander's trial defense attorney, former lawyer Joseph Tosh.
Joseph Tosh, former lawyer.
Former,
no longer a lawyer, is
Former
Joseph Tosh.
So they cited this DNA evidence as well as this piece of shit in his abject failure to provide an adequate legal defense. Quote, the most reasonable conclusion is that the hairs originate from the man who repeatedly raped B.N. from behind on the floor in the very location where these hairs were collected, end quote. That was from the actual petition to vacate his conviction.
Right.
So on January 30th, 2018, Judge June Barry Darrensburg of the Jefferson Parish District Court dismissed the indictment and ordered the release of Malcolm Alexander. After serving nearly 38 years in prison,
God damn.
Alexander was finally freed. Malcolm Alexander was arrested for the 1979 crime based on a deeply flawed, unreliable identification procedure. His paid lawyer failed in his most basic duties to present a defense, the kind of defense that the American legal system is supposed to provide for all American citizens. In May 2019, Malcolm Alexander filed a claim for compensation from the state of Louisiana for his pain and suffering as a result of the false conviction that he served 38 years in prison for. The details of his settlement are not public, but I did some digging and learned a bit about how compensation for the wrongfully convicted works. Mm-hmm. So it's handled at the state level, so it varies from state to state. And the payouts for the wrongfully convicted differ wildly between the states. Take Louisiana, for example, where this case took place.
Uh-huh.
Louisiana pays out a maximum of $250,000 over a 10-year period, which if you do the math, it comes out to $20,000 a year to its wrongfully convicted. That's the maximum.
So he could...
Oh, don't worry, I did the math. This means that at best, under the state law, Malcolm Alexander received just $6,580 per year for the 38 years he spent in the Louisiana State Penitentiary before being exonerated in January 2018.
Bitch, I'm going to tell you what. No, that don't fly for me. 38 years of my 38 years of your fucking life? No, there better be a bag at my motherfucking door filled to the brim. Several bags, actually.
And a lot of people think that is how it works. That you know, for folks who are wrongfully convicted, that the government has to pay up or the state has to pay up. But honestly, like, having researched a lot of how the wrongfully convicted payments work, it just depends on what state you're in. Because, I mean, that's
38 years of your life.
Yeah.
That is.
I mean, no money is going to make up for it.
No money is, but at the
like
same
insulting.
time, like, so how? Do we know how old he was when he got out?
I think he was 20 when he went in, or 19.
So he was like 58 to 60 years old.
Yeah.
Right. So you've spent the majority of your youthful year. You've spent your entire youth in prison. Mm-hmm. I should not have to, or he should not have to. He should not have to work for the rest of his life. Yeah. He should be cared for the rest of his life. I'm sorry. He should have been given the financial resources to
just enjoy what he has left.
What time he has left. I'm sorry, right. 60 years old. Like,
it's not old.
It's not
you have
old,
a lot of
but,
time left, but you definitely shouldn't have to spend any of it punching a clock.
But still, I mean, 60 years old. I mean, that's time for people to start thinking about. I mean, they're coming close to retirement. You know, like that's just so infuriating to me. I understand it's like you said, by state or whatever, but I just think that is grossly unjust.
Yeah, it is. It's disgusting.
Like,
a lot of people, I think, we just assume. You just assume that they get these big settlements.
I thought he was about to walk out with bank.
Because it seems like they should, but it doesn't really work that way a lot of times. Just shy of, actually, his wife, his wife shared. She was like one of the news sources that I read. She was talking about how he's working a job now. And he always wants to be like 30 or 40 minutes early for his job. And she has to like talk to him to not be like 40 minutes early for work like every day. Mm-hmm. Like he's that conscientious and he's that like type of person. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, man, you shouldn't even have to like do that if you don't want to.
Right.
You shouldn't even have to go to a job.
Right, right.
Anyway. So just shy of 1 year following his release from prison, the Innocence Project actually interviewed Malcolm Alexander about his life outside of prison. Adjusting to his new life has certainly had its ups and downs, but he shared touching stories of reuniting with his family and friends, his son and his grandson, and he also had the chance to marry his childhood sweetheart. Towards the end of the interview, the interviewer asked him, "Is there anything else you would like to share with the Innocence Project community and your supporters?" And I would like to share Malcolm's answer to that question with you here. "Like I always say, there is more good in the world than bad. The Innocence Project and the people who have been supportive of me show me that every day. I know I'm not the only one they are helping. There are many others, and that alone says so much. I am not just going to tell them that I appreciate them for helping me get out of prison, but I'm going to live the rest of my life showing my appreciation for them. Right now, I'm actually on my way to a fundraiser for the Innocence Project New Orleans. I want to show my support for them. I meant what I said when I got out of prison. Anything I can do to help out, let me do it. It would bring me joy. I don't just want to be on the receiving end. I want to be on the giving end too. So to all my supporters, let me just say thank you for letting me live. You reunited me with my childhood sweetheart and with my family. I appreciate the love you have given me. You just don't know how much I appreciate it."
Wow.
Yeah. It's really, it's like, it's upsetting, but it is also reaffirming to see somebody who has gone through something. I mean, Malcolm Alexander is the Innocence Project's longest serving exonerated client. Mm-hmm. The 38 years that he spent in prison is more than, I mean, now that's not to say anything about anybody else. If you go to their website, you can see all the cases that they've worked on and all the folks that they've exonerated who were wrongfully convicted. And, there are people on there that have served 15 years, 20 years,
right,
upwards of that. And, but he is their longest serving exonerated client with 38 years in Louisiana State Penitentiary. And to hear somebody who has had so much taken from him say, I don't want to just be on the receiving end. I want to be on the giving end too. Mm-hmm. And, anything that I can do to help out, let me do it.
Right.
And the fact that he's very involved with the Innocence Project to date. He helps out with fundraisers. He, helps spread the word. He helps them with publicity stuff. And just the fact that he is not, the fact that he's able to look at the world and still say there's more good in it than bad is really inspiring to me.
Yeah, I would have to agree. It's really inspiring, and it definitely, I don't know, I don't know that I would have that same, what's the word I'm looking for? I just don't know that I would, I don't even know that I would be able to have that, because I don't, like I said, to me, I'm just still stuck on like, it's just that like, it's like that value of someone's life.
Right.
I mean, even though no amount of money could like, cover, the times that you've lost. I mean, it's not just being free, but it's like you're losing those times with your family. You're losing all of those special moments, and there's no way that there's no amount of money that can cover that. But it still just feels like I still just feel like he's not
fully rectified.
And fully
Yeah,
rectified.
he's not,
and while he's being so gracious
Yep.
About his situation and wanting to give back and share his story, I'm still like, I'm over here like, I love you. I really do. And then now let me turn my face over to the other people, and I'm like, motherfuckers, I will fucking punch you in the face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I that's just kind of how I feel about the whole situation.
It makes you
and fuck you, Joseph Tosh, former
definitely
lawyer.
fuck that guy. Fuck a lot of people involved in this case. But I think the takeaway here, as I was reading this story, obviously as I was doing the research, I was like enraged, and I'm sure that came through. But stories like this do make me mad. They make me really angry. They upset me. They make me sad. They make me angry that this man lost 38 years. He talks about reuniting with his sons and his grandsons and being so happy that he has the opportunity to do that. But the truth is that he should have been there all along with them, because he shouldn't have been sitting in prison for a crime that he didn't do. Mm-hmm. And that's the truth.
Yes.
So it does make me angry, but the reason that I wanted to read his answer to that question of, is there anything that you want people to know, is because Malcolm Alexander, the person who has suffered the most in this situation, is not turning to rage. He's not turning to bitterness. He's not turning to anger. He's not turning to hate. He's saying, I want to do everything that I can do for the people who supported me and the people who helped me. I want to do everything that I can do to help prevent this from happening to other people.
Right,
I want to do everything that I can to change my community, to educate, to support, and to bring about change so that nobody else has to go through this. And that, to me, is the message here.
Yeah.
Is the message that he wants to share, and the message that I want to amplify is, I mean, get mad, sure, but don't stay in that, and don't let it make you bitter, and don't let it make you hate. Approach change, and approach these situations that fill you with this rage with that spirit of thankfulness and gratefulness, and being happy to have the opportunity to help.
Right. And I love that, because especially with him going through this, I mean, honestly, he can be a resource for, other people who are going through this, in his local community and in other places worldwide, honestly. I mean, with with this, with the Innocence Project amplifying his voice and stuff like that. So I think that the fact that, like you said, he's, with his gracious attitude about it, I just find that it's, that it is really inspiring. So.
Yeah. He's good people. Take that energy out there into the world, because I know there's a lot of craziness going on in the world, and I know there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of bitterness, but don't give in to that bitterness, because that's not gonna fuel the type of love and change that we need. The only thing that's gonna fuel that is coming together with a grateful heart and doing the best that you can. To help your community.
Right.
I do want to acknowledge my sources for today's material. The National Registry of Exonerations is a really interesting resource. It's very cool. I would encourage, if you're into true crime, you should definitely go check it out. It's a project that was put together by 3 different universities. So it's the University of California, Irvine, Center for Science and Society, the University of Michigan Law School, and the Michigan State University College of Law. These guys have put together this registry of exoneration, like cases involving exonerations all across the country, and it's really well done. So big thanks to them for supplying a lot of the research for this episode, as well as the Innocence Project, obviously. You can find them online at innocenceproject.org. You can read about all the good work that they're doing. The overturning wrongful convictions is just part of it. The work that they're doing in the communities to promote legal education is, in my opinion, like laying the groundwork for having a more informed society, for, helping people like the Alexander family figure out, like, okay, at what point do we just cut this fucking lawyer loose, and what sort of recourse do we have? Because,
right.
A paid lawyer, right? So definitely check them out. If you can, consider donating to them if you have the financial means to. If you can't, just amplify their message. And,
share away.
Yeah, and learn. I mean, honestly, just go to their website and learn a thing or two. And just by you doing that and learning some of what they're putting out there into the universe, I think that, your perspective will be changed, and therefore maybe in your interactions with other people, definitely, you'll sort of start to, I believe in incremental change that way. I believe in, I learned something new, and then I take that new thing that I've learned and I spread it all over my people, like a little bee, like a pollinator. And then they spread it to all their people, and then sooner or later, everybody knows that thing, and it's common knowledge.
I just really started thinking about STDs just now.
Yeah, spread it spread love and knowledge like an STD. Do
it. Should we
just do it consensually?
Consensually, stay protected. Take your PrEP, all that good stuff. Whatever. Love that. I actually also have a couple of reviews if we wanted to get into that before we close the show.
I'm down.
This dark and stormy evening.
Notice that the storm has stopped.
It has stopped because we've calmed down and we've learned how to not live in anger.
Mm-hmm. We're working on it.
Anyway, so I have one from BG Cheer 2011.
Into it? Okay,
it's called
got it.
Binge-worthy golden magic. Oh. First, let me say that I adore the two of you. Your podcast is my newfound favorite because it is a perfect mesh of true crime, spooky, paranormal, etc.
Etc. Yeah, that's my favorite. That's me. I'm me, etc. Hi.
I'm so glad I got a wild hair and randomly clicked to listen.
I love that phrase.
I got a wild hair up my
10 points for that phrase.
I am a person of routine and definitely do not like to stray from what I know and love.
I feel that.
While I am still like this. I'm not quite as uneasy to try new things now because I found such gold in the Haunted Heart podcast.
Oh,
was it really gold? Aww. Let's be real. Was it gold?
Was it gold, or was it that shit that they give you when you go to like the mining place?
I was gonna say
like when you're a kid, that fool's gold shit.
That fool's gold, like where you can like sift for gold.
I mean. It's
listen,
pretty.
the only gold over here is like the flakes from Goldschlager, okay? Like that's all that we've got over here, but we appreciate that. They continue to say, I only stumbled across Haunted Heart yesterday, but I haven't been able to stop listening. Aww. Love y'all, Purple Heart.
Love that. Love the Purple
great.
Heart.
We love the Purple Heart. And then my next one is from Bailey, B-A-I-L-I, Bada.
B-L what? Wait.
B-A-I-L-I.
B-A-I-L-I.
Bailey.
It's Bailey.
Bailey.
What the fuck's wrong with you?
That is not, no.
Bailey.
Okay, no. B-A-I-L-I?
Yeah, Bailey.
Okay.
It's like a way to spell it.
Sure. I've never heard of that, but that's fine.
Okay. Kenny. Nobody spell. That's not fair. They do spell your name wrong.
They do. Yes, they do. And this is titled 5 Stars Times Infinity. This one's really sweet, by the way. Kenny and Katie are the best
Unlike that other one that was hateful.
No.
What the fuck?
No, but this one, you'll get it.
Okay.
Kenny and Katie are the best podcast hosts of all time.
I love when you blow smoke up my skirt.
Girl. Or boy. I don't know.
Or non.
Or not, whatever. I came late to the party, so I binged the first 80 or so episodes and have been an avid fan ever since. I'm obsessed with the theme of this podcast and really appreciate all of the blood, sweat, and tears you have poured into it. I appreciate that.
We know it.
I appreciate that. Your show is not only hilarious, but also so entertaining that I always find myself wishing the episodes hadn't gone by so fast when I finished them.
Oh.
Kenny. Your honesty and stories are literally what I live for. Your humor is exactly
You know what that
I
was
need.
about? You know what that was about? Your honesty and stories. That's about the story you told about shitting in the bidet. That's 110% what that is fucking about. That is just for that bidet story, baby.
I know. Your humor is exactly what I need when I'm feeling stressy and depressy.
Oh. I feel that.
Katie, you don't know how much you have helped me. For years, I've wanted to seek counseling for my mental health, but was always too embarrassed in case anyone ever found out. Listening to you speak so openly and freely about going to therapy really settled my decision for me. I'm so happy to tell you that because of you, I'm in a program with a counselor that I love. The two of you and your podcast have been a real blessing in my life. I love you both. Heart, Spooky for life.
Oh, that wasn't really nice.
I told you. I cried when I first read it. I did. I cried.
Ooh.
I cried.
I didn't already cried once on this episode, girl.
I cried. I did.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you for the review. Whatever. Fuck it. But I'm so happy to hear that you are in a program and working with a counselor. I really, you guys know that I think therapy is great. I think everybody should be in therapy. I think it's nice to have somebody outside your own circle of people who are in your life, who are in your shit, to talk to about your shit. Because no matter how much I love Kenny to death, and I talk to him about a lot of stuff, and I talk to him about a lot of the shit that's going on with me, but he is also, to be fair, he is part of my shit, right?
True.
So it's nice to have somebody who's totally outside of everything, who you can just speak to, who can give you objective, input and really help you get to the heart of whatever it is that's bugging you. So, and it doesn't have to be a shameful thing. It's not a shameful thing. It's just owning. In fact, I think it's one of the bravest things that you can do, to be quite honest, is to look yourself in the mirror the way that you do in therapy, is to kind of see yourself in that way. So I'm very happy to hear that, Bailey. And I'm sorry that Kenny couldn't pronounce your name.
That's still TBD.
He's just kind of a fucking idiot.
TBD, though. TBD. That's all I'm going to say. You know whose name I can pronounce? Joseph motherfucking Tosh.
Joseph
who
Tosh.
is no longer...
Former attorney. We might talk about him on all of our episodes.
Might be
Welcome to the Haunted Heart Podcast. This episode is brought to you by former disbarred attorney Joseph Tosh.
That's how we're gonna intro the show. That's gonna be all right. When in the next intro, when I create it for season what the fuck ever, that's what's gonna happen. It's just gonna be the thunderclap, and then it's gonna be Joseph Tosh.
Remember this motherfucker.
Former lawyer.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of I don't know, this might be just in researching that case, like I just feel like a lot of people were like his lawyer, like his defense lawyer, and they didn't necessarily name drop him, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna say the bitch's name every
fuck out of his name
time he's referenced, because
Exactly.
I want you to know who he is.
We want you to know who he is. We want you to know that his name is Joseph Tosh.
Infamous. So.
And that he is a former lawyer.
Anyway, away from people that we don't want to have anything to do with, like Joseph Tosh, former lawyer. People that we do want to have stuff to do with is you.
Yeah, you.
So have stuff to do with us on social media when it's safe for you and in the scope of taking care of yourself. We would love to see you on Instagram at The Haunted Heart Podcast. We would love to see you on Twitter at The Haunted Heart. We would love to see you on Facebook, both on our Facebook page as well as on our closed Facebook group. It's closed for your privacy. It's not closed because we don't want you to fucking join it. It's closed because we know that you don't want your great aunt Kathy to see the gay horror memes that you're posting
Pretty much.
on Facebook. So if you just request to join, either Kenny, myself, or a member of the Murder Mod Squad will approve you, and then you can chat away to your heart's content.
Did you say shat?
Chat.
Oh, I thought you said shat away.
I mean, do whatever you want on your own time, but I don't think that
No
that
shitting
is
in the
within
closed
Facebook's terms of service.
No shitting in the closed group. But I will say, that crying isn't the only way to make us wet. But continue to leave us reviews. We love it. We love reading them on the air, and I particularly just fucking love it. I think Katie could give shit less, but
I just talk out to the world.
I love it.
Sometimes the world talks back, and it's great.
I think that like
You're just a Leo, and you need the fucking you need the validation.
I need the
That's
yes.
what it is.
Okay, all right. So, but we're not. This is not a therapy session. Okay, you are not going. We're not doing this right now. We're not going there. You are correct, but I think subconsciously I'm really just waiting for that one that's just like shit again, and like I'm really just.
Please don't. That is to
I'm
say,
really just wanting.
do not send us a shit review.
I mean,
don't.
I mean,
listen to me. Listen to mother. No.
I mean, I'm just saying.
And I say to you, no.
I just want to read somebody. I really do.
The fuck?
I don't know.
Maybe I'll leave it for you. Whenever you can read me.
Kenny, you piece of shit. The end.
Done.
Can't even spell. You can't even pronounce Bailey right.
Now they're gonna write reviews to make us cry. Remember, we had that thing where you were insulting people. You were yelling at people to leave you funny reviews to make you laugh. Now they're going to try to all outdo everybody on making us cry.
I don't think.
I mean, I'm game.
I don't think they give a shit.
Probably not. We'll see. Maybe. We'll see. All right. If you have listened to all of the episodes, like Bailey, apparently, and you want more Haunted Heart, you can find us on patreon.com/thehauntedheart. There you can join our Patreon Facebook group and get exclusive content. Patreon folks, I know it's been a little slow on the Patreon feed lately, but we do have stuff that is coming down the line. We have some things recorded that we're going to drop there exclusive to you all. Spooky Smut is coming. I'm working on it for you. And yeah, so you can join us there. Check us out. There's some exclusive content there if you don't have enough bullshit in your feed already.
Yeah, I would say do that.
Yeah, do it. Go for it. Do it. Right. You won't. No balls.
So I guess that's the end of this episode. Goodbye. No.
Bye.
Bye. No. You know what you got to do. Everyone but Joseph Tosh, former lawyer.
Who's not invited
with us to
stay spooky.